What's going on, Dodgers Nation? Welcome to the Dodgers Nation postgame show. I'm your host, Doug McCain. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DMac_LA. Thanks for rocking with us after the Dodgers get the dub. They beat the Brewers by a final score of 6-2. They improved to 72-46 on the year. Your Los Angeles Dodgers are now 72-46, 9 games up on the San Francisco Giants in the NL West. They're continuing to gain separation. They're continuing to put the contenders like the San Diego Padres and the Diamondbacks and teams that were chasing the Dodgers. They were in front of the Dodgers at one point in the season. Well, the Dodgers, they're far and away in front in this division. It was another great start for Bobby Miller, who continues to emerge, who continues to earn his spot in the postseason. That is the biggest takeaway from tonight's game. Bobby Miller continues to grow. This is against a Brewers line. This is against a potential postseason opponent. I was very impressed with Bobby Miller. He continues to get better, continues to be more efficient. I think that, to me, was my biggest takeaway from his performance tonight, was that efficiency. He ends up going 6 innings, allowed 1 run on 1 hit, had 4 strikeouts on 74 pitches. You look at his numbers tonight, not a ton of swing and miss, not a ton of strikeouts, but still getting the job done. He ends up allowing that base hit on the first against the first batter there, Christian Yelich. Then he retired the last 18 batters that he had faced. So we're going to break down his outing. I thought he was fantastic. It was great to see JD Martinez back in that lineup. He ends up getting the big double there in the 6th inning where the Dodgers put up a 5 spot. They end up getting a run in the 5th, a 5 spot there in the 6th. They win by a final score of 6-2. They out-hit the Brewers 10-2. The Brewers end up getting another run later in the game off of Yarbrough. Santana hit a home run, but hey, Yarbrough got him back with that punch out to end the game. We're going to break down the entire game, but first, let me know where you're representing Dodgers Nation tonight. Give me your grade for Bobby Miller, because my trust level continues to go up. My confidence level continues to go up for Big Bob. He doesn't like the Bobby Ice nickname that I dubbed him that people have used. He likes Big Bob. I'm cool with that. I don't care what it is as long as you perform out there on the mound, because to me, he gives off that main character energy, right? That main character energy, and I think that is what I'm seeing from Bobby big time. But let's jump to the comment section. Thanks for rocking with us here on the Dodgers Nation post-game show. As always, let's try to get to 200 likes. 200 likes, like I said, those giveaways, the authentic Mookie Betts jersey. If you're subscribed to the channel, you will be eligible to win. And like I said, we are just getting started. We will top everyone's giveaways. We're talking about authentic jerseys, not the stuff that is still really nice that costs $200. We're talking about the one that Mookie Betts wears on the field, that version, $340 plus tax. So more giveaways on the way, but we got Naples, Florida in the mix over here. By the way, I'm looking for that Dodgers dog of the game as always. If I get your Dodgers dog of the game, which is the Dodger that had the most dog in him tonight, you're going to see one of these.
Dodger dog of the game.
We got Anthony Keene. Bobby Ask gets an A++, extra plus just for not letting the first inning hiccup mess with his groove. That's a great point, Anthony Keene. I think that's something with Bobby Miller. We saw in the Reds game, gave the home run to Friedel. We saw him have some issues giving up big runs and big innings, and kind of the wheels start to fall off. But that wasn't the case. He settled down very nicely going up against a really solid lineup in the Milwaukee Brewers, a team that has a lot to play for. We're not talking about the bottom feeders, those AAA teams like the Rockies and the A's anymore. No, we're talking about a potential postseason opponent, a team that has been one of the better teams in Major League Baseball over the last decade. And yet for Bobby Miller to continue to prove that he is worthy of postseason starts, I think is the big story from tonight's game. And I think you bring up a great point there, not letting that first inning get to him, not letting that first inning affect him anyway at all. I think that was massive because, yeah, I mean, I think young players particularly, they let big innings, they let big moments get to them, right? And you have to be poised, and you have to be someone that can perform under pressure. And Bobby has talked about that, just going to his breathing, just taking a step back, just taking a deep breath, and hey, he can get right back on track. And his first inning ERA this year is 4.15. And other than that, the 5th inning is a 10.12 ERA. So the first and the 5th are really the innings where he struggled, right? But last performance, last outing, he ends up going into the 7th inning for the first time in his career. Tonight, he goes 6 innings. He could have gone deeper in that game. He could have absolutely gone deeper in that game, but his last start against the Diamondbacks, he pitches into the 6th. He had the 4 strikeouts again, the 4 walks, 4 hits. Tonight, another fantastic performance when you consider what he's building. And my theory on tonight's start is the reason why you don't put him back out there, I think there's already been some communication with this organization and Bobby Miller saying, hey, you will be pitching in the postseason. You are one of the 4 best starting pitchers in this rotation. I think that conversation has been had, and I think you want to preserve him. You want to make sure that the inning count doesn't go too up. That innings count needs to stay manageable, and I think that's what they're looking at. And tonight, it was a fantastic performance. He looked terrific out there. I think the confidence continues to grow, not just with the fastball, which we saw in big counts. I think some of the better at-bats, just blowing away Willy Adames, 4-seam fastball, top of the zone. Those are the kind of pitches that win postseason series. Those are the kind of pitches that get you contracts in the $200 to $300 million range, like that Garrett Cole money, okay? Bobby Miller, you're going to have tons of ice, tons of diamonds around your neck if you continue to throw pitches like that. But for me, it's come for the fastball, stay for the changeup. Because look at his changeup. That has been one of his best pitches this season. We look at his off-speed stuff, heading into tonight's start, opponents were 4 for 30 against his changeup, hitting 133. You saw him use it on a masterful level to free lick the changeup at the bottom of the zone, looking the way he tunnels it so well. I mean, I think Bobby Miller is really going from a thrower to a pitcher in the matter of months, just being around Mark Pryor, being around the Clayton Kershaws of the world, and just absorbing everything. I think he's taken this task head on. I think he's taken it so well, and I think that he is not satisfied with just playing a role, with just being a guy that goes out there and filled innings during the regular season. No, he wants his moment. He wants to pitch in the postseason. Bobby Miller told me during spring training, go back and watch the interview, Bobby Miller told me he wanted to pitch in the World Series. That is a guy who told me that had never even pitched in the show at that point. That shows you a guy that's brimming with confidence. That shows you a guy that has a standard for himself, that he wants to reach the big stage, and that's why I think he's a future ace of this organization. But I know that I've been talking a big game about Bobby Miller. You guys know I love me some Bobby Ice. So let me get into your comments. And who is your Dodger dog of the game? Which Dodger had the most dog tonight? Because you can make the case, obviously, Bobby Miller, he was fantastic. He was phenomenal. But how about Kike Hernandez? How about Kike Hernandez? The at-bat he had there in the 6th inning to get those 2 RBIs, add those 2 runs, a 9-pitch at bat. You can make a case for Kike Hernandez. You can make a case for JD Martinez, who gets the big RBI there in the 5th with his double off the wall, returning from the groin, from the hamstring, from pretty much a combination of ailments. I think you can make a case for him. How about James Outman? His diving catch, I think the way he plays that position, like he's a Pro Bowl linebacker there, I was impressed by that. I mean, you can make the case for some, but who is your Dodger dog of the game? And also, I'm looking for that Jordanito shot taker's comment of the game. By the way, only 25% of society, no, 25% of society cannot roll their R's. Like Joranitos. Are you one of those 25%? Let me know down below. Miller Time champagne of beers for, oh, I like that. Joseph Luca, that's our first Joranitos comment of the night from Joseph Luca, who says, Miller Time champagne of fears for hitters. That's what I'm talking about. We got County of Angels. Bobby Miller looks like he can be even better than Buehler. The fact that he has a plus combo, that's from Rake and Bake. Interesting. I think those are lofty expectations. I think the comparisons are natural because you have guys that early on in their careers, you had explosive 4-seam fastballs, the way they wear their hat, the way they wear their pants, both from Kentucky. There's definitely some Buehler. He looks like Big Buehler, right? He looks like Giant Buehler out there on the mound. But I will say, I watched the Buehler start yesterday, Game 3 of the 2018 World Series. The explosiveness and the perceived rise on Buehler's 4-seam fastball when he was at his peak, and I'm not saying that he's not going to peak again, but when he was at its best, that's still a better pitch than anything Bobby Miller has in his bag right now. That's how dominant that pitch was for Walker Buehler. We're talking about a guy who really established himself as one of the best postseason pitchers, one of the best big game pitchers. So I still don't think that he's reached Walker Buehler's heights. I truly don't believe that because, yes, it's a great 4-seam fastball as far as velocity. Doesn't have the movement, though, that Walker Buehler's had, especially working up in the zone. But I will say it's improving, and that's the most important thing from start to start. You want to see incremental improvements. For rookies, like I always say, progress is not linear, right? I mean, there's ups and downs. You see rough innings against the Giants where he had the bad start, against the Astros where he gave the home run, the grand slam to Bregman, against the Giants who gave the home run to Lamont Wade. He has had his setbacks, but this is a guy who, to me, and I can tell you from firsthand knowledge, is a student of pitching. He's a guy that he is a sponge. He listens to everything. He's so coachable. That's what I love about this kid, and I think that his future is bright, and his ceiling is that he's a number one starter. But I don't want to put him in the Buehler category as of yet, as far as a guy that's the potential to be better. I will say you bring up a great point in his secondary pitches are more advanced than Walker Buehler's were early in his career. I will give you that one. And look, he is landing his breaking ball in the zone. You saw that tonight on multiple occasions. So, yeah, I mean, it's a great conversation to have, and I think it's a fun debate to have for sure. But kind of my point here is let's not forget how dominant Walker Bleepin' Buehler was when he was fully healthy in his peak prime years, when no one couldn't touch him in the postseason. We got David Sabatini, always rock with us from the New York, NYC. Smash that like button for your man D-Mac. I appreciate you as always. The queen of the Dodgers Nation post-game show, Diane Schroeder, everyone. Yeah, definitely smash that like button, guys. Let's get to 200 for your Dodgers. We can do it. Let's go harder. Let's go faster. But we got Jay Bullitt. I hate being right in this case, but I always had concerns around Joe Kelly. Dude is way too injury prone. That's from Jay Bullitt TC. Yeah, I mean, look, Joe Kelly has been injury prone. There's no doubt about that. He's been on the IL 8 times since the start of the 2020 season. You can practically send his mail to the IL because he practically lives there. And look what happened after the 2020 season. He had the shoulder injury. When he was back, he was throwing a lot of junk, wasn't going at the velocity. And look, it all goes back to the fact that the human arm isn't supposed to throw fastballs 99 miles per hour. It isn't supposed to throw knuckle curves that touch 90, right? And look, it's the gift and the curse. The reason why he's effective is because he empties the tank. He has that coil. He has that arm motion. And look, that's just a part of the game. Like Billy Beane said, there's two kinds of pitchers. There's pitchers that haven't had Tommy John surgery and pitchers that will have Tommy John surgery at some point. It's just the arm wasn't intended to do this, to throw that little pill, that little white thing with the red seams in it as fast as it is. And some players, they can avoid injury for long stretches. Some can. And look, the most important thing for Joe Kelly is that he can return and he contribute to this year's team in some capacity because they're going to need it. But we got Robert Loya over on YouTube. Tonight was the Dodgers Miller time. Absolutely. Where the super chats at? What up, Ricardo Sandoval? Oh, my guy, buddy, Ricardo Sandoval, my basketball teammate. We ball in the office. We got one of those miniature basketball hoops you put on the door, and it goes down. Just put it like that. JD almost hit another one out earlier. That's from Matty Man Dodge. Yeah, I was really impressed with JD Martinez. I love you bring that up because JD is someone that is obsessed. He's absolutely, there's no other way to put it. JD Martinez is obsessed with hitting. Yesterday at Dodger Stadium, they had Dodgers All Access, and JD Martinez needed to hit. He was at Loyola High School getting at bats and putting some work in. And yeah, it was great to see him contribute tonight and really just hit the ground running on his return. And yeah, early in the game, in some of his at-bats, a little rusty, but he gets back on track. I mean, the second inning, he ends up striking out on a slider away, chases that slider. We've seen that a few times, but he goes up there in the 5th inning, and he ends up putting it together. A really, really nice at-bat. Was kind of looking for that breaking ball, the fastball a little bit in on the hands there. And, yeah, let's talk about that 6th inning as well. So, 6th inning for that Dodgers team. It's really where it all happened. I mean, Freeman, he popped to third to start the inning. Then Will Smith safe at first on the throwing error by Monasterio. And then Muncy, he singled to right. And then we got runners on first and second. JD Martinez he swings at the first pitch, a slider down and away, same pitch that really got him to strike out. And then next pitch, he doubles off the wall, and that puts the Dodgers on top 2-1. So, yeah, it was nice to see JD Martinez have some success tonight. I think he is going to be absolutely crucial to the Dodgers' success in the postseason. They need him to be good. They need that 987 postseason OPS. And like I said, when they made the signing, JD Martinez is going to be an upgrade to Justin Turner. It's the meme with the upgrade key. It's Justin Turner, press the upgrade key, and then it's JD Martinez. It's not a slight on Justin Turner. It's just the fact that look at that at bat right there. Martinez didn't hit a single, he hit a double. Right? And you need slug. If you want the dub, finish the sentence, guys. Let's go. So down below in the comments section, what were your thoughts on Bobby Miller? Do you think those comparisons to Walker Buehler are fair? We got Kelton. We have seen how much JD can deliver, but do you have any concerns for his health come postseason? That's from Kelton over on YouTube. To an extent, and later I got some nuggets from Dave Roberts from the media scrum before the game that I think you guys need to know, and that we'll get into in a little bit. You got a Shelby Miller update that I think is very encouraging. But look, Dave said before the game, JD Martinez is good to go. They're going to try to run him out there 5 in a row, and they're still hopeful that he's going to make those starts this week, and they're keeping a watchful eye. And what Dave said is, he's happy with how honest JD has been with how he feels, with his current condition. He gets the cortisone shot, and hopefully that alleviates all of his pain. He can go about the rest of the season. Because like I said, you kind of have to be a little selfish in these situations, okay? Because he's on a 1-year, $10 million contract. He will not be back with the Dodgers most likely. We know who the Dodgers want. It's Shohei Ohtani, right? And JD Martinez is going to put himself in a position to sign another multi-year deal at a really nice price. I mean, he's going to give himself a nice bag that'll probably take him towards the end of his career. And that really was the plan, to reinvigorate his career, to have a resurgent season. And he's done just that. 25 home runs this season for JD Martinez. He made the All-Star team. He's back on track. He's a Scott Boras client. But at the end of the day, he is a little older, right? And that's just how it is. But if you're the Dodgers, you just want to be healthy enough to make it through this postseason. And another thing, too, on top of that, is you have this lead in the division. Yes, you're still chasing the Atlanta Braves. You want to overtake them if you can. But you have such a lead there in the NL West where, I mean, you're pulling away from this Giants team. You're 8.5, 9.5. It'll be 10.5, right? It's going to continue to expand. And with that luxury, you can rest him. You don't have to have him in there every day because it's not like you're fighting for a division title or anything like that. I will say, Dave also mentioned today that guys like JD Martinez, they like to play. They like to be in the lineup. But I do think you're going to get some rest. And the most important thing is you just tackle this and get to the bottom of it early. And I think after what we've seen in the last few seasons as far as this team being decimated by injuries, I think the fact that he was just playing tonight lets you know that they're confident that it can't get any worse. So I would say my concern level is probably a 6. But that's just because of what I've seen the last few seasons from this organization, the players that they've lost. So, look, I think he's going to be just fine. I think he's going to have a big postseason. I think it was a great, great signing for this Dodgers team. We got Fu says Miller Ice. You're going to get a comment of the game for that. Anthony Keene, this team has maybe the best bench that we've seen in quite some time. That's from Anthony Keene. That's a great point. That's a great point, Anthony Keene. I think one thing you have to mention about that, too, is, well, one, this bench totally changed at the beginning of the season when Gavin Lux went down with the injury, right? When he suffered the season-ending knee injury, you know he was going to be gone for the year, most likely. Of course, there has been some talk about him trying to get back here towards the end. I've heard that's pretty unlikely, but still, Miguel Rojas was supposed to be a guy that was going to be a utility man, a guy that was going to be a better version of Hanser Alberto, and Miguel Rojas is starting, and he made some more superb plays in this game. The defense behind Bobby Miller was stellar tonight. Miguel Rojas made some plays. James Outman made some plays. So, yeah, the fact that not only is he contributing with his glove, where he grades out as one of the best defensive shortstops in the sport, well, he's contributing offensively. I mean, this guy is an RBI machine all of a sudden. That's what Joe Davis said during the broadcast, right? And just look at that bottom of the 5th inning. So the first inning there, top of the first pitch of the game, Bobby Miller, he gives up that single to Christian Yelich, four-seam fastball on the inner half, left it a little up, but next batter he walks Contreras. There, that at bat, 6-pitch at bat. He was ahead in the count 1-2, and then he missed with the slider twice, and he missed with the sinker. Then he gets Santana to fly out, and then Frelick, he grounded to that fielder's choice on an 0-2 count, and that scored Yelich to give the Brewers an early 1-0 lead, and he gets Adames to ground out. So that inning, there was some bad Bobby there, of course, missing with location, walking batters. You don't want to see that, but after that, like I said, he retired 18 straight, and he was phenomenal. He was efficient for the rest of the night. He was trusting that fastball. He was working his breaking stuff in the zone like we talked about earlier. That changeup during certain stretches was fantastic. But then you jump to the top of the fifth, the bottom of the fifth. Who got the Dodgers on the board there? Well, Peralta, he hits the leadoff single. Then that's followed up by a double by Jason Hayward. He splits the gap there in right center. And you're talking about two scalding scorchers off the bat. Two rocket shots by two veteran players. You got Jay Hay doing the dance right there, setting up LA nicely with runners on second and third and no outs. Next batter, James Outman. Not a great at-bat. Not great at-bats by James Outman in this one. He strikes out on 3 pitches. But that brings up Miguel Rojas with 1 out, and first pitch, he grounds to short. Peralta scores on the plate to tie things up at 1. So that is what he's bringing. I mean, he's contributing at the plate. Of course, don't look at his season totals because it'll tell you he's one of the worst hitters as far as overall offensive production at his position. But things are starting to at least trend in the right direction to where he's putting together competitive at-bats and he's putting together big league at-bats. And that's the most important thing for Miguel Rojas. So, yeah, you bring up a great point. I love that point because this bench, like I talked to Dino Ebel on the field. I posted that interview on our YouTube page. He said that this team, sometimes you get those special teams where when you need a big hit, you get that big hit. I mean, David Peralta, I think it really foreshadowed the season he was going to have for this team early in the year on Jackie Robinson Day against the Cubs when Outman gets the hit, then Vargas gets the hit, and then Peralta, he gets a base hit, hits a ground ball to the right side. That scored Outman to end the game. And then, of course, you saw the hit he had against Arizona last week. So you're getting clutch at-bats for sure. Jumbo Dong just missed one. That's from Adam. We got B1130, Miller Ice, 499 from Lorenzo Gaddis. He had that curveball working all night. If he commands that pitch consistently, 2 years will be the best pitcher in baseball. I'm calling it now. That's from Lorenzo Gaddis over on YouTube. That, my friend, is a fire take right there. That's a absolute fire take. And yeah, it's a bold claim, but I like it. I like the confidence. I mean, that's the kind of confidence that he has in himself. And you bring up a great point in that curveball. Look, I mean, you can't be a one-trick pony. You can't rely on just high velocity, right? I mean, there's a reason why all starting pitchers were at one point, all relievers at one point were starting pitchers, and sometimes you see relievers, they're able to get by on just having explosive fastballs. Well, the kind of pitcher that Bob Miller wants to be, he wants to have the secondary stuff. He wants to have the curveball, the slider, the changeup, the cutter. I mean, he has a true 5-pitch mix that he commands. And, yeah, that curveball, a lot to like. I mean, look at the at-bat against Frelick in the fourth. I mean, you start him off with the 4-seam fastball, and then you get him swinging on that curveball. Then he fouls off a couple pitches. You throw him the sinker at 100 miles per hour. Then you throw that curveball, which at 81, you're talking about a 19 mile per hour differential there, and that's what you're looking for on that pitch. And then you bust him with the changeup that is in between the 4-seam fastball, the sinker at 100, and the curveball. So that changeup's coming at 91. So you're looking at an 81 with the curve, 91 with the changeup, and 99 plus 100, 101. So that's why he can be so effective. So, yeah, I agree with you 100%. As long as he continues to maintain the progress that he's made as far as refining his mechanics, I have no doubt either that Bobby Miller is going to establish himself as a frontline starter in this league. And you hit on one of those guys, let's be honest. I mean, it's like finding a quarterback in the NFL, right? There's really 15 good quarterbacks in the NFL, 5 really good quarterbacks, 1 Patrick Mahomes, right? If you're an ace starting pitcher in Major League Baseball, you're one of really 15 or 20 guys that can do that on the planet, right? So it's definitely not something you just throw out there lightly. At least I don't. But we got HVR31. Miller has good horizontal movement, works better lower. David Sabatini, what up, my man? What happened to Jake Marisnik? He ended up getting, that's from Angie over on YouTube. He ended up getting transferred to that 60-day IL. Also, the Yarbrough dynamic with a change of arm speed inside is underrated. I think that's from Chris Serta over on YouTube. Yeah, you guys know how high I am on Ryan Yarbrough, and he's a guy that is going to have a prominent role for this team. I said a few weeks ago, those piggyback starts with Ryan Yarbrough and Walker Buehler, they're going to be electric in the postseason. You're giving different looks, lefties, righties. This is someone who is in the 1 percentile when it comes to fastball speed, when it comes to striking guys out. But what he does do at an elite level is he induces soft contact. And I think that what you're going to get from him is someone who's going to be steady. And tonight, yeah, I mean, first of all, that home run was an absolute bomb. That was a bomb there in the 7th inning to Santana. I think the issue there is he falls behind the count, and he misses with the cutter twice right there on the inner half, and he missed at the top of the zone. Now, on the 3rd pitch, he just left that sinker a little out over the plate, 86 miles per hour, and Santana absolutely obliterated 442 feet. I was sitting there thinking, if this is a Sunday game with that LA Heat, that could have been out of Dodger Stadium, right? That could have been a Giancarlo Stanton type home run, a Mike Piazza type home run, a Willie Stargell type home run, a Fernando Tatis Jr. type home run. You guys know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about home runs that have left the stadium. So he bounced back nicely, though, and that's what we love about him. I love these multi-inning relievers, guys that can stretch it out because he goes back out there, and I think from a mentality standpoint, he didn't let that bother him. I mean, when you have an offense like the Dodgers that is right there at the top of the league, and they're on a 9-game winning streak now. They're 13-1 in August. I mean, they put together a 5-run 6th inning, and guess what? The Dodgers, they did not hit a home run tonight, and they won. And that's a trend that you're seeing. We saw 3 wins last week where they didn't hit a home run. Heading into that stretch, the Dodgers were just 4-19 in games they didn't leave the yard. So, yeah, I mean, when you're Yarbrough, you're out there, and he came back there nicely in the 9th inning, and he got Yelly to fly to left. And nice soft contact. He got Contreras to ground to first. And then Santana, he strikes him out on 3 pitches. So he made the adjustment there. You don't leave balls out of the plate, especially on the outer half. He stayed right there on the inner half. Cutter, curve, all on the inner half, all low and inside. So, yeah, it's an adjustment. I think he's someone that's going to benefit from the Dodgers pitching, coaching, their pitch sequencing. Mimi, you're my favorite YouTuber. I appreciate you. You guys are my favorite YouTube commenters, man. You guys are the best. They'll give you a comment of the game for that. Appreciate you on that one, my man. Dylan Hare, thinking Miller will be ready for October. Maturity is showing. That's from Dylan Hare. Yeah, Dylan, I agree with you 100%. I said it yesterday on Blue Heaven. He is absolutely going to participate in the postseason rotation. Only thing that could flip that on its axis a little bit, though, I will say is, 1, how he finishes the season as far as workload. Does he have enough gas in the tank? And then 2, how does Walker Buehler look? How does Lance Lynn look? If Lance Lynn continues on the path that he is, the trajectory that he's on, where he's at a 2 ERA, the strikeout numbers are really good, just the home run issues are bad. So if Lance Lynn continues on this path that he's on, I think he's absolutely in line for some postseason starts. I think if Bobby Miller continues on the track that he's on, he's someone that absolutely I think is in the conversation. I think that they've already had this conversation. I think that is probably the plan right now, and I think they're telling Bobby, hey, go 6 innings, let's keep the pitch count down a little bit, let's continue to develop, and the last thing you want to do is throw him out there in the 7th inning, gives up a couple of home runs, and yeah, you're waking up at 3 in the morning and you don't feel like you had a good start, right? So he had a good start. He had a really, really solid start. He went out there and he did his thing once again. I will ask you this. Let me ask you guys this down below in the comments section. When do you want to see Bobby Miller in the postseason? Because there's a couple ways you can look at this, and I'm going to read some more comments right now before I answer this question myself because I want to get your guys' take on this. Is game 1 and 2 Kershaw, Julio, or do you go maybe you go Julio game 1, Bobby Miller game 2, Kershaw game 3, or Kershaw game 1, Bobby Miller game 2, or Julio game 3, and you avoid having a rookie pitcher on the road in his first postseason series against an opponent like the Brewers or the Marlins or a team like that. I think for me, in a short series, I'm going with the guys that I think are going to give me the best chance to win game 1 and game 2. And I think right now that is, without a shadow of a doubt, unequivocally, is 100% Clayton Kershaw and Julio Urias. So right now I'm saying if I go up 2-0, I know that even if I lose game 3 on the road with Bobby Miller on the mound or Lance Lynn on the mound, then I'm feeling okay about that. And then also if you take it to game 4 and Bobby Miller is your starter and you have Ryan Yarbrough available and you have a Walker Buehler available, it is a safety net. And then game 5 can go back to Julio Urias, who you could start in game 1. So there are ways to do this, but for me, the way I look at it is I don't like that approach. I don't like that approach saying, okay, we want to protect the rookie pitcher by throwing him at home versus throwing him on the road because we don't have confidence in him, because we think that he could be a liability. To me, if you can pitch in the postseason, you have to let it rip from the get-go. I think that's a loser's mentality. I truly believe that. I think it's a loser's mentality to say, oh, he can only pitch at home. Hell no. What was Bobby Miller's first start? Ask yourself that question. What do you do against the Atlanta Braves, against that potent lineup, okay? Bobby Miller ain't afraid of those road grays against that road crowd. I'm telling you, this guy's built for this. He's got that main character energy. But Yarbrough is very underrated for what he can bring. Length and different look and speed. That's from Chris Serta over on YouTube. Jake Bogner, hey, Milwaukee, I'll brew you something. Love Miller, Bobby version. Jake, that's a comment of the night from our friends over at Juanitos. Please drink responsibly. By the way, you are home with Jim Beam and Dodgers Nation. Please drink responsibly. Diane Schroeder saying 200 likes and Doug will do a shoey. I don't know about that. All I got is water right now. By the way, tomorrow morning, I'm interviewing my friend, Mr. Ryan Pepia. If you guys have any questions you want me to ask him, let me know down below. Could be something off the wall, too. I'll tell him it's from you. IB Strokin, hashtag Bobby's World. Great cartoon. What up, Dodgers fan? What up, IB Strokin? Always rocking with us. You know I appreciate you. Too much of a whip. What's the injury situation with Blake Trine? That's from Angie Chavira over on YouTube. So, yeah, I mean, we talked about this a couple of days ago on Blue Heaven, and yeah, Blake Trine is on his way back. Blake Trine is someone that is going to get an opportunity, believe it or not, to pitch for this team in September at some point. And like I said, the good thing is he's post-surgery, but he did throw 1 inning of a simulated game on Wednesday at the Dodgers spring training complex in Arizona. So it also, the news is he was throwing only 86 and 87 in a recent bullpen session, but that jumped up to 94 during the Wednesday session. And yeah, Dave Roberts said that Blake was in the 100th percentile. He said it was more than we anticipated. So, yeah, I mean, he's going to get opportunities to get back. That is the plan right now. There is a path for him to return at some point. I'm thinking mid-September, something around that time. And it's a shoulder injury. As long as the strength is there and the feel is there, I think they're going to give him a shot. And if that's the case, when you consider the injury to Joe Kelly, which they're saying is minor, but hey, this is the Dodgers. They're so cagey with injuries, you just never know. If you add a Blake Trine and you have a healthy Joe Kelly, all of a sudden this bullpen is a strength. This bullpen is going to be a force because Evan Phillips is a top 10 bullpen piece. Brusdar Graterol, I know that I give him flack for his inability to strike guys out in key situations, but you've even seen his strikeout numbers go up. You've even seen him gain more confidence in the slider, right, in the cutter, in his secondary stuff. And then you got Ryan Brazier, who to me is this year's Chris Martin, a guy they found, they picked up off the scrap heap. Even though they traded Zach McKinstry for Chris Martin, Ryan Brazier, since they showed him that cutter, the velocity there, 97 miles per hour, he's someone that I think can absolutely trust, induces soft contact, misses barrels. And then you got Joe Kelly, who's a strikeout artist. He's striking out 50% of the batters that he's faced since joining the Dodgers. He's striking out a career high in batters this season. So he's someone that if he's healthy, he's going to be a weapon. And then you add a Blake Trinan, who the last time the Dodgers were deep in the postseason in 2021, he's your high leverage guy, right? So that's 5 dudes right there. And we're not even talking about a Caleb Ferguson or an Alex Vesia or what happens with Yency Almonte, who looked better in his last start, or the possibility of a Walker Buehler as a bullpen piece. So all of a sudden, if you do get a Blake Trinan back, that depth just takes it to a whole nother level. And like I said, the reason why I'm cautiously optimistic about Blake Trinan is he's post-surgery. For me, anytime there's an injury and you go the PRP route, and I'm not talking about power prayer for Blake Trinan, I'm talking about the platelet-rich plasma. Anytime you go that route, then I'm not optimistic. Then I'm saying, okay, you're just delaying the inevitable. You're going to have to go under the knife. We're going to see you in a tweet that also has Dr. Neil Elitrach at some point in the next 2 months. But that isn't the case. We're talking post-surgery. And yes, there always is the concern that you're not going to have the feel for the breaking stuff particularly, but I do think that it's something that you have to monitor. I think he is going to return. But Anthony Keene, I'm loving Bobby Ice's trajectory. Super reminiscent of Fernando. That's Anthony Keene. That's look, the Fernando story, of course, he doesn't pitch there. 1980 in the one-game playoff against the Astros. They go with Dave Goetz. He was terrible. Fernando pitches in that game, pitches well. Then Jerry Royce, he's unable to go. They had multiple pitchers that couldn't go there who were scratched from their start in the opening day of 1981. But yeah, I mean, Fernando, come on. I mean, first 8 starts, he had 5 complete games, right? I mean, or he was unbelievable. He had a .4 ERA through his first 8 starts. That's tough. I don't think we're ever going to see that again. Fernando was just once in the sport as far as just capturing the imagination of the country, as far as stepping onto the scene and dominating the way he did. So, yeah, Bobby Miller has been great, though. I mean, the best rookie pitcher we've seen in quite some time since Walker Buehler. BC, great opportunity here to win a World Series before Ohtani inevitably joins next season. That's a great point, BC. I think if you're Ohtani, yeah, his ass is going to be at home on the couch, right? He's going to be watching baseball. He's going to be taking in the Dodgers. So you want to show Ohtani what this franchise is about. And I think if I'm Shohei Ohtani, one thing I'm paying attention, if I'm watching the Dodgers this postseason, is one, look at all this young talent. Look at all this cheap, controllable, cheap relative to baseball, right? Look at all these guys on young, cheap, controllable talent. The James Albins of the world, the Bobby Millers of the world, okay? These guys are pre-arbitration, right? And then you consider Gavin Lux is returning. And then you look at the established superstars. Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts are statistically the best duo the sport has ever seen. They are the best duo in LA since Kobe and Shaq, right? And you consider that those guys still have prime years left. You still have Will Smith. You still have Max Muncy. And then you look at what they're able to do. Another thing I'm looking at if I'm Shohei Ohtani is, hey, the Angels could afford J.D. Martinez. He didn't go to them. Why? Because Angels have no track record. Angels don't know how to develop. They don't have the coaching to get guys back on track and do what they did for Tyler Anderson and help guys reestablish themselves, right? Look at David Peralta. Look at Jason Hayward. So if I'm Ohtani, I'm saying they're going to take a lot of that money and give it to me. So what are they going to do on the margins? Well, the Dodgers this year are proving what they can do on the margins with the guys they've picked up. So here we go. Let's go. Dear Doug, this is the year supposed to be an off year too. Yeah, exactly, right? By the way, man, I mean, look, man, I'm not trying to be, no one likes I told you so guy. I'm not trying to be that, but at the beginning of the year, I told you, do not believe in the Padres, okay? Their trophy case looks like the toilet paper aisle at the beginning of COVID, right? It's empty. Only thing they have there is a fake division banner trophy they probably made for themselves for being the Dodgers last year in the NLDS, right? So the Padres, they're the Murphy's Law team of Major League Baseball. What can go wrong will go wrong. So Yarbrough, man, is the truth. Gives me Alex Wood vibes. Anthony Keene, that's a fire take. I think Alex Wood vibes, I see some Cleric in him, but Alex Wood too, for sure. I mean, that's definitely the one right there. Can we shed light on Miggy Rowe making contact? That's from Crispy J. Yeah, I mean, look, Miguel Rojas is someone that you value the glove, right? You value the glove, and you value the fact that he was not supposed to be in this role. I keep saying that, but I think it's important to continue to reiterate because of the fact that he was supposed to provide positional versatility, to be a guy that was an elite glove, that was a contingency plan if it didn't work out for Gavin Lux. But look, the reality is he's a 200 hitter. He's hitting 219. He's a 54 weighted runs created plus, so he's 46% below league average. He's hit 2 home runs on the year, but of late he's starting to see more contact. And I think you have to realize that, yeah, he's not an automatic out. You just don't want him to be an automatic out. That's the thing, okay? Because you don't want to have the same feeling of a pitcher at the plate. Of course, not Fernando Valenzuela, who raked, or Hyunjin Ryu hit a home run, guys like that. But still, the point I'm trying to make is you don't want to have it be one of those guys, right? So that, to me, is the most important thing, is the fact that he's competitive. I think the fact that you brought in Ahmed Rosario has lit a fire under him, and I don't mean that in a bad way as far as he's coming to take his job, but I think just anytime that there's new players in a clubhouse, you want to show them what you can do. There's no one that's in the major leagues by accident, right? And Rojas, he has a lot of pride, and I think he's made some key adjustments. You're not seeing him too big on certain swings anymore. But 199, we got a super chat from Retro Yuki Productions. Dodgers for the win. Bobby Miller. Oh, that's a comment of the game. Here we go. Friends over at Ronitos. Let's read some more comments from Chris Taylor for the Savannah Bananas from Jay Bullet over on YouTube. Roy Estrada is dying here. She most certainly is. Prone to thrill. Seems all the deadline moves were bargains and adding massive value. Prone to thrill. Yeah, absolutely they are. And you got to give credit to this organization. And look, they still try to, even the guys they got, they still want to go out there and get Erod, Eduardo Rodriguez. They still made a push to go get Max Scherzer, to get Justin Verlander. This team was aggressive. I told you months ago they would be, because this group they believed in. And yeah, these additions to this point, every single one of them has contributed every single night. I mean, tonight, you look at Kike Hernandez. To me, that was the at-bat of the game. Kike Hernandez put together a hell of an at-bat in tonight's game, and he continues to look better. I mean, what Dino Ebel told me over the weekend was they completely broke his swing down, and they just cleaned everything up. There was a lot of moving parts. He was just out of sync, and they completely cleaned it up. He's shorter to the ball, and I think for him, it's just putting on that Dodgers uniform. Some players, you just need that. And tonight, he goes 1 for 2, had 2 RBIs, had the 1 strikeout, but he's been phenomenal. He's been remarkable with the Dodgers. He's exceeded expectations to this point. And like I said, they're in the 6th inning. That was huge, because to that point, JD Martinez had gone the double, and that put the Dodgers up 2-1. Let's not forget, the Dodgers, they had gone 0 for 9 against Hauser to start this game. He was perfect through 3, and he goes in to face Milner, and Milner, he gets up in the count 0-2, and then third pitch, Kike fouls it off, and then the fourth pitch, he takes a four-seam fastball away for ball 1. Then he takes a four-seam fastball up and away for ball 2. Then he fouls off the 6th pitch, a changeup low and away, fouls off a four-seam fastball, middle of the zone, kind of missed one there. On the 8th pitch of the at-bat, he fouls off a curveball. And on the 9th pitch of the at-bat, he just takes a changeup. It goes right up the middle, gets the base hit, scores 2 runs. Muncy and Martinez score on the play to make it 4-1. So that, to me, exemplifies the growth of Kike Hernandez since returning. Is you just saw him putting the ball in play, and good things are happening. For him, when he tends to struggle, it's when the strikeouts are up. You're seeing lazy fly balls. You're not seeing hard contact. But for him, he's so locked in right now, and I think that was his best at-bat as a Dodger so far. So I was very impressed by that at bat. And then a couple hitters later, after Outman singled to right, and by the way, on another 2-strike count, that brought up Rojas. And Rojas, he singled to left. That scored Kike to make it 5-1. And on that pitch, he was just not trying to do too much either. It was a changeup right there. He hits it. It goes for a single to left, and that puts the Dodgers up. And then Mookie Betts, he gets his second hit of the game against Wilson. First pitch sinker right there on the inside corner. He just turns on it. It goes for a hit into left field. And then That put the Dodgers up 6-1, and that's all the runs they needed because other than that, you had the Yelly hit in the beginning. Miller was perfect after that, 18 straight retired, and then you gave the home run to Santana. And then how about this? Freddie Freeman in that big sixth inning, he popped out to third for the first out, and then he struck out swinging. Is Freddie Freeman a rally killer? No, I'm just playing. But here we go. What's up? We got, hey, D-Mac, who gets the left off the playoff roster? CT3, Kike, Rosario. It all depends. I mean, I think for this team, and you look at this roster and who's going to contribute, I think you have to see how it plays out because I think they want to really keep all these guys. And when you look at the margins right there, it's going to be tough to see who will ultimately get in. But, I mean, you theoretically could take all those guys. I mean, you don't have to leave anyone off that roster. And I think Rosario is someone who, you traded for him to hit lefties. Kike, you traded him for positional versatility to hit lefties. CT3 is someone who has a track record of having success in the postseason. He's someone that brings that positional versatility as well. And, look, we'll see if everyone stays healthy down the stretch, too. There's something to be said for that. But then you got Peralta, who's going to be big as well. But yeah, I mean, at some point, it's really just going to come down to how this team looks towards the end. I think this Dodgers team, they're just firing all cylinders right now. You got key contributors across the board. I think we'll see what happens in September when you expand those rosters to 28, and you got the call-ups, and we got LFG. We got not only a curve, but 2 speeds to give them on a curve. Yeah, exactly, prone to thrill. That's major, too. This team is the 1988 Dodgers, resilient. Roy Estrada. Yeah, I mean, this team has a lot more talent and a lot bigger payroll, but for sure, I mean, Oral Hershiser was a dog. That team was gritty, though, for sure, and I think you're seeing that grit from this team. We got D-Mac needs to do a shoey. I don't have beer for tonight, but tomorrow, by the way, Blue Heaven, Clint's going to be out. He's gone camping, but I got my man Noah's going to be rocking with me on Blue Heaven, so check that out. Don't break Walker Buehler this year, Joseph Luca. Dave Roberts also wanted innings for Ryan D-Mac. That's from Prone to Thrill. Yeah, there's that, too. I think the great point that you make, Prone to Thrill, is that Yarbrough's had most of his success as a starting pitcher, and he struggled coming out of the pen. So I think getting him comfortable in that role is going to be key, too. And he's had success in the past, too. I think that was going to have some positive regressions to the meet at some point. But Miller, number 2 star from Boomer Assassin. Craig Osterberg pitching Miller third. Anayan says Game 4 for Miller. Kirsch Miller for Game 1 and 2. Yoni Bay. Kirsch Miller for Game 1 and 2 at home. Yeah, so some of you guys like that idea. Moving up Peralta or Kike from Roy Estrada. Kershaw and Urias are no-brainers. That's from Eric Moreno. Yeah, I agree with you. I think for everything they've done for this team, for this franchise last year, I think you look at Urias going in Game 1 against the Padres, giving up 3 runs. Same with Kershaw there in Game 2, going 5 innings. That's going to probably be the plan. D-Mac 9 in a row from Jose Marquez. What about the Padres? What about the Padres? The Dodgers are the Padres last time I checked. If Kirsch is healthy, Boomer Assassin, do you think Vargas will be back this season? Alberto Z. Barring an injury to one of the current players, I think it's highly unlikely, but I will say he's making a lot of progress down there at the AAA level. But Chris Serta, remember that Miller has pitched in Atlanta and dealt. He has the dog in him for the bright lights. Yeah, that's what I said earlier, and I agree with you. We got, I like Urias, Bobby Eyes, King Kirsch, Lance, make him dance. I dig that starting rotation against anyone in the league. Noel Moreno asked Pepio if he's got that stepio. Yeah, I'll definitely throw something like that at him. We got I Be Stroking, my dude, D-Mac from here. What up, the rude dude? You know I always appreciate you, my guy. I like your Nick Young profile pic there. D-Mac, ask Pepio what gives him that pep in his step. Okay, I see you guys have been watching this show for sure. Brandon 499 asks Ryan when he's come back and if he's ready for the playoffs. Yeah, I definitely want to talk to him about his role for sure. And the good thing about Pepio is he's built up. Yeah, I'll give you guys some nuggets from Dave Roberts' pre-game, post-conference little scrum he did there, and he had some notes about Ryan Pepio and about his start. And I kind of, just a little paraphrasing here, is basically what he had to say was the fact that Pepio hasn't pitched with consistency, obviously, at this level because of the oblique strain where he was forced to miss over 3 months, but also guys at this level are throwing the ball well. So that is kind of what he has going against him at this point that you have to kind of factor in. But he said Pepiot is built up. He had a great one. I think for us is expecting for him to go out there and do it again. Right now, guys are throwing the baseball well. To see him getting consistent outings is good for him. He also said that about Shelby Miller. So Shelby Miller is starting a rehab assignment. He's going to be going tomorrow. So they want 2 to 3 outings from him. And they want to see how he's feeling. He's thrown 3 times in Arizona. He's looked really good. The velo is good. Command is good. It's about getting him to OKC and responding to back-to-back. So now you add Shelby Miller and possibly Blake Trinan. Shelby Miller was really good in his stint this year before going out that injury. So that's something that I think Shelby Miller is someone, he has a very deceiving fastball. If you look at his stuff plus, he grades really well. I think he's someone that could absolutely help this team. Before he went down the injury, he had a 2.4 ERA, the FIP high at 4.5, a 25.8 strikeout rate. The walk rate was a little high. His expected ERA, 2.46, expected FIP 5. So some of his expected stats don't love him, and the BABIP was incredibly low. But Shelby Miller is a guy who is another arm that could absolutely contribute. So the more arms, the merrier, especially after what we saw last year. What else do we see from Doc? He said, Gus Varlin, he's the original Dodger. He likes him. Be ready when called upon. He's done some good things with player development, pitch sequencing. He talks about, I thought this was interesting what Dave Roberts said. They asked him about, basically, is this a barometer series, a measuring stick, when you're considering that these are 2 postseason opponents potentially in the Marlins and the Brewers? He said, look, it's a measuring stick for the Brewers and the Marlins. He didn't see this series as a measuring stick for the Dodgers. He said that they measure themselves against themselves regardless of opponents. So I like that. I like that mindset, that mentality for him. And he also said they're trying to win every game. You have to be careful about complacency, not as much of a dogfight right now for them. So hopefully it's not something that they're going to be battling. But a couple more here, guys, and let you go. And we'll see you guys tomorrow for the Thursday for the Blue Heaven podcast. Tomorrow we got the Pepiot interview and another mailbag interview too. So also going to post some mailbag questions on YouTube. If you guys want to be a part of the mailbag episode, ask your questions. I'm going to make a post on it on YouTube, and then I'll answer your question on the episode for sure. We got Angels are going to regret not selling this trade deadline. What are you talking about, Anthony Keene? They're going to get a compensation pick. Mike Trout was a compensation pick, but no, I agree with you 100%. Artie Moreno is a trash owner, and they should have probably gone Perry Maniason earlier. Do you think Vargas will be back this season? Nope. Mike Marshall had a screwball. Yeah, he did have a screwball for sure. Hey, D-Mac, Big Bob dominated against Wisconsin. Let's give him a round of applause and a drink. There you go, DKM. There's your comment of the game presented by Coronitos. I love Vargas, but whose place he takes, he won't this year. Do you think we'll keep Kike? I think he has been a game changer for the team. Just the energy and utility. I think anything's possible. I think these guys at the right price make sense. They truly do. It's just a matter of how well they perform down the stretch into the postseason. Because if they have themselves a solid postseason and they do have success, then I think that all bets are off. Because at the end of the day, players love playing for the Dodgers, but you always have to do what's best for you in your career because you're only playing this game for a short amount of time. And they always say at some point, someone's going to tell you that you can't play this kid's game anymore. And most of the time, it's not the player's choice. So it all depends on that. But I do think fit-wise, he does make sense. And I think that if you look at the success, the defense, I think he wants to improve upon, but he just continues to hit, especially in big spots. So I would love to see it. But, yep, guys, your other show, D-Mac, is with Batman, he and Robin. James Bostrom, I think you think I look like Burt Ward, right? I appreciate you, James, always. We got what are your thoughts on the Catman? I mean, we talked about him extensively yesterday on the Blue Heaven podcast. But, yeah, I mean, to me, I think he's kind of the odd man out, especially when you look at his lack of success at 9.20 postseason ERA, struggled last year against the Padres, struggled in 2020. It feels like he just hasn't been the same guy that he was when he went out that forearm strain. I mean, he's someone that was leading the National League in ERA, and the velocity's been down. It's been harder to recover in between starts. He's leaving that split change up in the zone. I'm just a little concerned about Tony Gonsolin. I'll just be quite honest with you. Hot take: we won't see Vargas again in a Dodgers uniform. Play me or trade me. First of all, I love your username. Play me or trade me over on YouTube. Yeah, I think it's possible, man. At some point, you got to trade guys because they're assets, and you can't keep all these prospects. I do think, though, that they are invested in Vargas. They see him as someone that brings some star potential. They see him as some guy that's a pure hitter that has a hit tool, and they tend to give those guys longer leashes, longer runways to try to prove themselves. And I think they're going to give him another shot and see if they can get the version of Miguel Vargas that you're seeing right now in the minor leagues. So we'll see. I mean, if the Dodgers don't get Ohtani and they want to try to make a big trade, I mean, you could use him as a piece, but at the same token, if you're the Dodgers, why would you trade Vargas when his stock isn't at its highest, right? I mean, if another team values him, then I could see it, but that's the only thing to consider as well. But that's going to do it for this episode of the Dodger Nation postgame show. We got J-Dog. If Ohtani comes, how about Trout? That's from that'd be great. Why not? With Robin, love you, brother. James. But that's going to do it, guys. Appreciate you rocking with us here on the Dodgers Nation post-game show. Dodgers get the win. We got how about a shot to go to sleep? Here we go. This is all straight up Hornitos in here. Appreciate you $5. Going the Ohtani fund, going the carne asada fries. But your Dodgers get the dub. They are in first place. They are running away with the division, 72-46, on pace for over 98 wins, 9-game winning streak, 13-1 August. Bobby Miller was outstanding. Once again, he continues to grow, continues to earn that postseason start that I think we are going to get from Bobby big time, from Big Bob. And you got that 5-run, 6-inning. JD Martinez made his return. This Dodgers team continues just to find ways to win ball games. But that's going to do it. Remember, there's nothing that brings us together quite like Dodger baseball. If you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe to the Dodgers Nation YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell. Hit that like button. Appreciate you, Remy. Appreciate you, Nick Leva. Good night. We got Mario. You the best. You the best. Right back at you. Hogwatch is sad. JK. JKid 2323. Have the Dodgers peak too soon? I be stroking. Hopefully not, because last year we saw that they truly did. Jay Bullock, get better soon, my man. But see you guys next time. And until next time, think blue, bleed blue, and I'm out.